Week 12 of the Big 12 football season is here, and something about this weekend is starting to feel weird to me. I don't know what. I don't know why. It's just one of those gut feelings. Let's get into my previews and predictions for Week 12 in the Big 12. All we want from you, as we ask each and every show, is one very simple thing, and that is a like on the video, making sure that you are subscribed, and then we can get rolling. Same thing on the podcast. All right. We good? We're all on the same page? Great. Let's do it. Let's get to game one. It is Arizona on the road taking on Cincinnati. Cincinnati's off the bye. You have Arizona coming off the win against KU last week. So this Arizona team is sneaky good, and it is sneaky underrated. All right. You have in this game the number one defensive efficiency team in the Big 12. That's Arizona against the number one offensive efficiency in the Big 12 in Cincinnati. Now, here's the thing. Last time we saw Cincinnati, they got blasted by Utah on the road. And Utah was the number two defensive efficiency team in the Big 12. Now, that was on the road. That was at night. That was college game day and the whole 9 yards. But still, Cincinnati has been able to, so far this season, potentially goose these numbers a bit with lesser opponents. Now they're playing two of the best defenses in the Big 12 back-to-back in Utah and Arizona. And I know it's weird to say that about Arizona, but it's true. They are, and have been thus far, one of the best defenses in the Big 12 Conference. And we're 10 games into the season now. So this is not a fluke. It's not. This is what they've been. So Arizona is the kind of team that can slow you down, especially against the pass, and that is what Cincinnati wants to do. That's where their bread is buttered. Okay, so they want to get that ball out. They want to get it moving. They want to play quickly, and that has been a strength of Cincinnati in the early season. And if they can't do that effectively, well, you saw what happened in their game against Utah a couple of weeks back. I'm not suggesting that's going to happen on Saturday, but you saw Brendan Sorsby struggle mightily against a very good Utah defense. Is Arizona Utah level at home? No. Nippert Stadium's a tough place to play. There's no doubt about it. But this is a game that I actually think if Cincinnati's going to win it, it's going to have to be on the ground. That's what's going to have to happen here for Cincinnati. They're going to have to get that ground game going, and that's been pretty good as well. How about this for Cincinnati? They don't rush the ball nearly as much as other teams in the Big 12, but when they do, they're good at it. Cincinnati's averaging 6 yards a carry on the ground. That is tops in the Big 12, ahead of Utah, ahead of UCF, ahead of BYU. So underratedly good on the ground, and that's where I think they're actually going to have to win this game against Arizona at home. But on the flip side, you've got an Arizona team that's bowl eligible, feeling itself, just won another game against Kansas, and is starting to get its own running game going against a Cincinnati team that, frankly, isn't all that good against the run or the pass. They are a bend but don't break. It's cliche, but that's what they are, kind of defense. They are 12th in the Big 12 in rushing yards allowed per game, and they are 13th in the Big 12 in passing yards per game. That opens things up for Noah Fafita. That opens things up on the ground for Mahdi, who's had a good couple of games in a row here against Colorado and against Kansas, and also Riscano, who's come back from injury, hasn't had a big role on the ground, but this could be one of those games where they can break it open and break it out. So I like Arizona. Yeah, it's early, going east in a tough spot against a team that is still in contention for a Big 12 championship. There's no doubt about it. Cincinnati wins out, and they're in. They play Arizona. They play BYU the week after that, and then they've got TCU. But they're also going in to the most difficult part of their schedule that started 2 weeks ago against the Utah Utes. Then they had a bye week to think about it. Now they've got a stingy, underrated Arizona team coming into Nippert Stadium. And you know what? I just think Arizona's been tested more throughout this season. And I think Arizona can go in there and they can pull off an upset and they can get an outright win on Saturday. I'm picking them to cover most importantly. I feel best about a cover at 6.5 points. That's too big a number for me. with a defense like Arizona. And heck, I think they can win it outright. Give me Arizona winning this game by a final score of 24-23 over Cincinnati. And most importantly, I've got them plus the 6.5 in this game. And just for some added juice for you, 83% of the money so far is on Cincinnati, and the line's not changing. That tells you the Sharps are on Arizona plus the 6.5 in this game. Pete Mundo on Heartland College Sports. Check that you are subscribed to the channel, and make sure you please like the video as well. We will go to Stillwater, America. Let's go there, where Oklahoma State is taking on Kansas State. You have Oklahoma State as another massive underdog in this game. Both teams are coming off byes. Oklahoma State has not won a Big 12 game in 2 years. Kansas State's coming off its loss to Texas Tech a couple of weeks back. Dylan Edwards is officially done in a Kansas State uniform. I think that's a good thing because the team can just move on and stop thinking about it. So I'm going to take you behind the scenes on this game for a second, because if you're just looking at this game through an analytics prism, you're obviously going with Kansas State. The question is, what are you doing on the spread of 20.5? This weekend, Justin Blackman is being inducted into the Oklahoma State Ring of Honor. You're going to have a juiced up, fired up crowd, as much as you can have for a 1-8 team on Saturday. Stillwater is going to show up for Justin Blackman. You have an 11 a.m. kickoff. You finally have some health back at quarterback. I mean, you saw Zane Flores actually play fairly well in their game against Kansas a couple of weeks back, returning at quarterback. It's not going to be Hoss Haney, but it will be Zane Flores, and that is a big improvement over Sam Jackson. He's had a couple of weeks to get going. They are home. And Chris Kleiman has had this weird thing with Oklahoma State. He's never won in Stillwater. He's 0-3. Oklahoma State has really owned this series. They're 24-9 against Kansas State in games played in Stillwater. They've won 10 of their past 16 meetings in the series, as well as 4 of the past 6. I'm in no way suggesting that Oklahoma State's going to win this game. That being said, something about this matchup makes Kansas State struggle. And maybe you throw it all out the window because of just how bad Oklahoma State is right now. But I'm not there. Not at 20.5. They covered against KU a couple of weeks back. And while Kansas State is undoubtedly the better team, Kansas State has kind of been a weird team that has at times played up and down the competition and has been at times unpredictable. If there's a game that Oklahoma State is going to get up for in front of that home crowd, who they have not been in front of in a few weeks now, it's an early kick. It's Justin Blackman in the Ring of Honor. It's coming off a bye week, having some mojo, having a little enthusiasm, showing out. Zane Flores getting healthy, getting those reps, using that Kansas game as somewhat of a springboard to at least keep this mildly competitive. And when 81% of the tickets thus far are on Kansas State and the line has only moved a point, I'll roll the dice on this one. Give me Oklahoma State plus the 20.5 that I am seeing out there against Kansas State on Saturday in Stillwater. That's the Pokes plus 20.5 against Kansas State in Stillwater on Saturday. I'm Pete Mundo on HeartlandCollegeSports.com. Like the video and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for being here. We are now going to Tempe, where West Virginia takes on Arizona State on the road in the Big 12. So you've got two teams that now, with Sam Leavitt out, Jeff Sims in at quarterback, they want to run the ball. 2 weeks ago, it was Arizona State using their backup quarterback, Jeff Sims, to pile up 290 rushing yards in their win against Iowa State. Both these teams are going to want to keep it on the ground. And both run defenses are actually pretty solid. Both teams are allowing 3.7 yards per carry. That is in the top 3 in the Big 12. Obviously, a pretty large sample size. So they do well against the run, and offensively, that's what they each want to do right now. We know about West Virginia. We know Rich Rod's offense. They are rushing the ball more frequently than any other team in the Big 12. They have more rushing attempts than any team in the Big 12. That's what they want to do. These teams are eerily similar as well. Both are tied with 24 sacks apiece on the season, and they're almost identical on giving up 24 and 25 sacks this season as well. That's near the bottom of the Big 12. They do a much better job getting to the quarterback than they do protecting their own quarterback. But this West Virginia team has really started to grow lately. You've seen them hold Houston a couple of weeks ago to 80 rushing yards. They held Colorado to 50 rushing yards last week. I know that those are two teams that maybe aren't known for their rushing attack, especially Colorado, but still, they've done that against, especially Houston, some of the better competition, less so Colorado, but still, they are locking teams down in the rushing game. And Arizona State has to move the ball on the ground with Jeff Sims at quarterback. He is not going to beat you with his arm. Arizona State is number one in the Big 12 in time of possession. They want to slow this thing down. West Virginia also wants to slow this game down. And for the Mountaineers, they're still technically fighting for bowl eligibility. They're 4-6 overall. If they can win their last two, it's not going to be easy. At Arizona State, home to Texas Tech, they're going to a bowl game. I'm not sitting here predicting it at all. I'm just saying they've won two straight. They're playing their best football of the season. The confidence is growing for a bunch of younger guys who have dealt with injuries throughout the year, and Rich Rod has them playing their best football. And while Arizona State is still fighting, there still is a crazy path to get this team back to the Big 12 championship game to try to defend their crown. Let's be honest. Okay, Kenny Dillingham's done a nice job, but this team's not going there. This team lost Sam Levitt. It's not happening this year for Arizona State. And when the spread's sitting there at 10.5 points, that's just too enticing to me. It's too big of a number with the way that West Virginia is playing and with the way that both of these teams want to win the game, which is slow it down and win it on the ground. That's the big part of this as well. Arizona State, I believe, is going to win the game. But a 10.5 point spread with how they have to win this game, with Jeff Sims, with that rushing game against a WVU defense and defensive front that's getting better, I'm not there. I am not there. So I'm going to go with West Virginia to cover the spread at 10.5 points. And I'll give a score of Arizona State winning by a final of 27-21 over WVU, but the Mountaineers cover the 10.5 point spread. And I'll say this as well. I mean, it's been interesting to watch how some of the betting action has gone on a game like this. Arizona State is getting 85% of the action, and the line isn't moving. That tells you, like in some of these other games, there is big money on West Virginia that's keeping that line where it's at to make up for the fact that a lot of the square bettors, as they're called, just the casual bettors, are hammering Arizona State at home in this game. So that's why, one of the many reasons, I'm riding West Virginia plus the 10.5 points on Saturday. Pete Mundo on Heartland College Sports. Like the video and make sure you are subscribed to the channel, as always. We are next going to Lubbock, Texas, Texas Tech, and UCF. The Red Raiders are 23.5 point favorites. And the question is, are we looking at a hangover game? That's it. Is there a hangover effect coming out of that unbelievable moment for Lubbock, Texas last week, where Lubbock, Texas was on display for the entire college football world? With College Game Day, with Patrick Mahomes, with a top 10 opponent in town, with ABC and Kirk Herbstreit and everybody else, Chris Fowler, the whole gang. Is there a hangover on Saturday? That's it. That's the only question. It's not about whether or not Texas Tech is going to win. It's about whether or not there's enough of a hangover to let UCF stay competitive in this game, as UCF still fights for bowl eligibility and played a pretty darn good game last week against Houston It was just the fact that their defense played well. The offense could not keep up with the defense. That's it. The health of Baron Morton may be in question. How much is he going to play with that fracture he's dealing with in his lower leg? Does Joey take a reasonable lead and just say, you know what, we're going to ride the backups here and just try to get through this game in one piece and see if we can get Baron healthy? Do they just try to get out of this game with a win? I can't blame them if that's what they want to do. All right, they're sitting there at number 6 in the country. They've got a bye week coming up after this. And then, if they can close this thing out, they'll be playing in a Big 12 championship. They're in a great position to make the college football playoff. You just have to get out of these games with victories and get to the Big 12 championship and try to keep Baron Morton healthy. And I do believe that there is a potential hangover here. This is also going to be UCF's Super Bowl. This is it. The coaching staff knows that. The guys know that. They would love nothing more than to go to Lubbock and shock the world. Do I think they're going to do it? No, I don't. Do I believe at 23.5 points they can keep it within that number as this game progresses? I do. I think that's the smarter bet here. Not that Texas Tech can't blow out UCF by a final of 35-10. I mean, that can absolutely happen, and then, Texas Tech gets its cover. But at 23.5, I think the right side of this is UCF. And when you look at the trends right now, the betting odds would suggest that's where the smart money is here too. Looking at this, and it's weird because I'm going through some of the Big 12 games, it's very obvious where the smart money, the wise guy money is on this. You've got right now 65% of the money on Texas Tech, and I'm not seeing a lot of line movement. So that's a surprise. 65% are riding Tech, but the line hasn't shifted. That means there's more coming in on a per-bet basis on the UCF side with that 35%. So I'm just going to roll the dice here a little bit on this one. Go with the gut. Go with who's really motivated. Go with who wants to just get out of this game in one piece. And, look at the potential for a bit of a hangover. It's human nature. You see it all the time with teams. So while I think Texas Tech will win comfortably, I do think that UCF can cover the 23.5. UCF's defense has been underrated this year. They're third in the Big 12 in passing yards allowed per game. Alex Grinch, of all people, has that thing humming. I didn't think we'd say that name again in the Big 12 after his time with OU, but here we are. They've done a pretty good job on that front. So they can stop the pass. They're not quite as good stopping the run, but they can slow down the passing attack, and they can make this just a slog of a game. What worries me here is that the offense is not going to be able to do anything against that Texas Tech defense. That is what concerns me here when I look at the 23.5. But can I get them the 10 points? And then Tech wins the game 31-10, and UCF gets a cover on 23.5? You know what? I'm just going to roll with it and see how it plays out. Pete Mundo on Heartland College Sports. There you have it. That's my pick on UCF versus Texas Tech. Like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're a Big 12 or a college football fan. We will keep this going with Utah on the road at Baylor. An intriguing Big 12 matchup there between these two teams. Both these teams are coming off bye weeks. I would have thought in the preseason this was going to have major Big 12 championship implications. It will not. I mean, Utah is still in the race, but Baylor obviously has had a disappointing season, although the last time we saw them, they were blowing out UCF. So what you've got in this game and the storyline to watch here is Baylor's number one passing offense against Utah's number one passing defense. That's the matchup. All right. Does Sawyer Robertson get this offense humming at home in Waco against a Utah pass defense that has been the best in the Big 12 based on yards allowed per game? If he can, that opens things up for Baylor. Not just to win, but possibly pull off the upset. Baylor finally looked like the team that a lot of people thought they were going to be this year against UCF a couple of weeks back. Did they learn anything, or was that just a blip on the radar? Dave Aranda's coaching for his job. Let's not forget that, okay? He's in front of the home crowd, which, they had a good performance last time they were out in front of the home crowd against UCF after a couple of tough road losses against TCU and Cincinnati. They have been much better at home this year, so we know what happened on the road at Cincinnati. At TCU, lost both of those games. They played much better at home. So can they capitalize in a very tough game against one of the better two-loss teams in the country against Utah? And I'm looking at this game and saying, Dave Aranda's going to shock us all again. I mean, he's going to give this Utah team a real run. That's where I see this game going. All right? And a lot of the early money is coming in on Utah. 90% of the action's on Utah. And another game where the Big 12 line, in this case, is not budging. It's just not happening. So I'm like, all right, I mean, you've got a lot of people in this one. Well, not a lot of people, fewer people, but people with larger bets liking Baylor at home. And the run defense scares the you-know-what out of me here. All right? It really is not something that I want to place any kind of a major wager on here. But I've been picking all the games the last few weeks, straight up and against the spread, so I'm not going to chicken out now. All right? I promise you, that's not happening here on Heartland College Sports. I will not chicken out. But if there's something I'm optimistic on, maybe they figured something out against UCF a couple of weeks back. UCF is a team that actually does pretty well running the ball. They are third in the Big 12 in rushing yards per game or rushing yards per carry. UCF is third in the Big 12, 5.5 yards per carry. Baylor held them to 3.2 yards per carry and 74 total rushing yards. That's the Baylor a lot of us thought we were seeing. Now you get a bye week, get an extra week for Aranda to try to figure this thing out. He is coaching for his job, I believe, in these last 3 games. You upset Utah at home, you know what? A lot of people are going to forgive you based on how this season has gone. That's just how this stuff goes. So I'm going to roll with Baylor plus the 8.5 points in this game. They are home, welcoming in Utah. And while I believe Utah's the better team, and I think they'll eke this thing out, I'm going to go Baylor plus 8.5, but give me Utah winning the game by a final of 27-24 over the Baylor Bears on Saturday in the Big 12 Conference. I'm Pete Mundo on Heartland College Sports. Thanks for being here. Make sure that you subscribe to our channel where we talk Big 12 all the time. Our final game to talk about in the Big 12 is BYU hosting TCU. And this game obviously has major Big 12 implications. And it's a fascinating game because of what's going on here with the line movement. What's happening? Well, you've got a game that opened up at BYU minus 6.5, and it quickly moved to BYU minus 4.5. What does that mean? A lot of money came in on TCU plus the points on the road. But I am not betting on TCU. I can't. I've been selling TCU for weeks. I've been right on TCU the last 3 games, Baylor, West Virginia, and then Iowa State this past week. There is no way that I'm going to put my hard-earned dough anywhere near the TCU Horned Frogs. They are as inconsistent as there is right now in the Big 12. I mean, they're not the worst team in the Big 12. They're just inconsistent. And, I mean, Oklahoma State's bad, but they're consistent. TCU is, I think, pretty talented and wildly inconsistent. And this is the late night, 9:15 Central Time game on ESPN, Big 12 After Dark. BYU is unbelievable in these games. At home, crowd's going to be rocking coming off of that tough loss against Texas Tech. They still can make a Big 12 championship. They still can go to a college football playoff. They cannot afford to lose this game. They just can't. And, you know, I'm looking at the game and the matchup here, and I'm saying, you know what? What TCU doesn't do well is defend the pass. Bear Bachmeier is going to have to win this game, I think, with his legs out of the pocket, but also with his arm. That is where you can take advantage of the third worst pass defense in the Big 12 so far this season. It's not going to be on the ground. It is going to be through the air. And after dark, at home, at night, I am going to roll with Baylor minus the points in this game against the TCU Horned Frogs, who have just been woefully inconsistent. And as much as I'm a big fan of Josh Hoover and some pieces on the offense, we know what these guys can do. McAllister out wide is great. They sling the ball around. That's what they want to do with Kendall Briles' offense. They are second in the Big 12 in passing yards per game. BYU has a stout defense, and TCU cannot run the ball to save its life. All right? They are the third worst team in rushing yards per game in the Big 12. They just can't do it. They have to win this game through the air. And you're talking about going to Provo, on the road, Big 12 after dark, and having to sling it around on this defense to get a win? Good luck to you. Good luck. And after BYU's loss last week, their special teams mistakes that were way out of character, this team is going to be totally buttoned up coming into this game. There is no doubt about that in my mind. They will play as clean a game as they have played this season. And that's what you're going to see as well. TCU has also been a team that's been dealing with a lot of penalties. They are the third most penalized team in the Big 12 this season based on yards per game they lose due to penalties. That will be on display with that crowd as well. So give me Baylor with a win at home over TCU. I'll do a final score here in this game of 35-28. Baylor wins. They cover the 4.5. They improve to 9-1 on the season. So that is my pick in the BYU-TCU game. I'm Pete Mundo on Heartland College Sports. Hey, we've got our merch shop open as well. We've got hoodies there for you. We want you to also make sure you join the free Heartland College Sports forums. No cost to you. Go to the website. Great bunch of Big 12 fans are on there, and we'd love to have you join us as well. And if you're a super fan on YouTube, just hit that super thanks right below the video. We appreciate that. That helps us keep the independent Big 12 coverage always growing here on Heartland College Sports. I'm Pete Mundo. Thanks for subscribing if you haven't yet. Have a great day. Enjoy the games this weekend, and go Big 12.